Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I just thought I'd let you know what I've chosen to get tomorrow at the show as far as a new liquid feed is concerned. I'm going to go for the Orchid Focus. I've always had reservations about this, but price wise there's a tenth of a litre, which is £3. And then there's a third of a litre. Sorry, all you people who still work in old-fashioned stuff, you know, well, tough. This is the new world. So a third of a litre is effectively £5, but a whole litre is only 10. So you're getting a third of a litre free, effectively. I was going to get a third of a litre but that was to try it, and then I've sort of done a bit more work and I thought actually we'll go for the litre because it's going to work. I know it is. Basically it's for sale slightly cheaper, like at Amazon. It's $9.67 instead of $9.99, but then there's a fiver for delivery. Now I'm not prepared to pay that when I can just pick it up off a table tomorrow at the show. So there's various other places you can get it, but I'm quite happy to pay Peter White £10 for a litre of this stuff. And this is the important bit, is the analysis. Let me just see if I can actually zoom in on that so that you can all see what I'm getting at. Oops. Now we've gone off the top. There we go, that looks like it. Right, so this is the good stuff. This is why I'm choosing this. Influenced by Rick L's latest video, which I watched earlier today. And he gives good opinions, but he himself professes that opinions are overridden by facts. Facts is done by research and science, and I totally agree. Because you might get somebody who thinks this is how something works, but it works for them in their environment, and it might not work for somebody else. Anyway, research has been done into specifically Phalaenopsis, but it would probably apply in some shape or form to other types of orchids. Maybe not quite so effective. But analysis on Phalaenopsis has shown that if you cut up the flower spikes on Phalaenopsis and analyse them, they are full of potassium. Therefore, to be created must have taken quite a bit of potassium. You know, somebody's having a sing in the background. That means, let's have a look, yes, we've had some food. And we're now sitting in the kitchen doorway. We'll have a little howl and then we'll probably trot upstairs and go to sleep for the rest of the morning, with any luck. Yes, also in addition to that, analysis and everything has shown that if there's a reasonable amount of potassium in the plant, it is far more likely to hold on to its spikes and produce branches and more blooms, and not drop its old leaves. Now if your bottom leaves are going yellow, analysis has shown, same research and everything, that those yellow leaves have got virtually no potassium. Yeah? Therefore the plant has taken it out of there to use it somewhere else. So like calcium, it's highly required. Now the balance on this I like. What's always put me off with the Focus Grow is how weak it looks. Well, we do some research then. We go and find somebody who uses it and how much they need. Carol got volunteered and did an experiment for me, which has come back with something I'm happy with. I basically asked her to see how much of the Focus Grow would be required in millilitres in 2 litres of water to get a TDS of around 200. And it turns out that with her rainwater, which is a TDS of 9 or 10, that matches up with my RO water. It took 7 mil to take that amount of water, and it went up to just above 216 TDS of 2. I don't need these sort of odd little bits. I did say around 200. Around 200 for me is like 190 to 210, or even 180 to 220. That's around 200. Don't need to be that precise with feed levels. So basically 7 mil to bring 200 litres up to a reasonable strength. Now you have to bear in mind, if I was feeding my cymbidiums in the growing season, they're going to get a TDS of 400, possibly even heading up towards 500. Well, that would use quite a bit more than this, wouldn't it? Well, so be it. And if I was feeding my Masdevallias and Odontoglossums and the like, then I'd be down near a TDS of sort of 80, 90, less than 100. So I'd be using quite a bit less. So it's going to average out at a reasonable usage per cost. Yeah? So although it seems weak, you know, I mean, some fertilizers are 20-20-20. Yeah, well, you don't use anywhere near as much then, do you? And you'll find that you'll pay a lot more for that fertilizer because of the amount of actual feed that's in it. I'm happy with the price of this. 10 quid to try a new feed. Now let's have a look at the analysis. This is the important bit, and that goes with what I've just said about potassium. The nitrogen in this is all nitrate nitrogen, so that's 1.12. That's incredibly low. My MSU, I believe, was something like 11. Yeah, so it's a tenth of the strength. But so be it. It's the ratio that's important rather than the actual values. So 1.12 of nitrate nitrogen, that's good stuff. That all gets used. It's not dependent on microbes in the media. It's not dependent on temperatures. It just works. It's readily absorbed. It's good stuff. And then we've got the phosphorus. Experiments other than the one I'm talking about, mainly the MSU, Michigan State University's, their experiments that came up with the MSU, found that orchids don't use much phosphorus. So they reduced it in the MSU formula, the first to do it. This has reduced phosphorus. Now, although it says 0.71, the actual water-soluble element of that, the P, that you would put on the packet, is actually 0.31. Well, as a percentage ratio, that's fine. That's quite low. Then the good bit that I didn't realise is the potassium. Now it says 1.90, but the actual value you would get, the water soluble, the K, is 1.58. That's quite a bit higher than the nitrogen. That would provide that extra potassium for the Phalaenopsis to be happy and healthy. And it probably will do a bit of good to the other types as well. And then if you look at the calcium, it says 1.01, but in actual fact the true calcium, the Ca, is 0.72. As a ratio to the nitrogen, I'm more than happy with that. That's a good ratio. What I'm not happy about is the fact that it also contains magnesium. I'd like to have seen a value, and that value ought to be between 1/4 and 1/3 of the calcium value. That's the recommended. With the experiments by Michigan State, that's the ratio they came up with. So there's magnesium is in there, but it's not specified as a percentage. So is sulfur. That's good, because my MSU never mentioned sulfur. It was indirectly in there. And then it puts boron separately. The micronutrients are all there. Basically says somewhere on the packet, all 14, all essential nutrients, and basically there are 14 in total. They're all in there somewhere. That's good. So it's good stuff. But then on the bottom there, Is it actually on the screen? Yes. I was going to be talking about... No, it isn't actually. It's just off the bottom. I'll just move the camera slightly. That bit down the bottom below the banner also contains magnesium, sulfur, boron, humic acid and fulvic acid. And if we come back over here, that is the main constituents in the seaweed. So this is with seaweed. Yeah? It's already in there. So the what do you call it? Hormones and things like that that you would get in seaweed are there in those elements. So on reflection, although this seems incredibly weak, the balance is very, very good. And I'm happy with that balance. So tomorrow I will be coming home with a litre of Orchid Focus Grow. I'm not interested in looking at the bloom version of this because I've already got the Dynagrow version of that. And we were going to use that on the Cymbidiums. Once they all start spiking, we were going to use that as an experiment to see if I get better blooming, bigger blooms, brighter colours, more compact, no elongation of the actual spikes, spreading the blooms out, nice tight, brightly coloured, larger, good blooming. And that's what that's supposed to do. We'll find out. So anyway, I've done my homework and I'm happy that this stuff is going to work. And it's liquid. It's not going to go off. Yeah? I don't need to wait for it to dissolve. All those things go out the window. And I can just use a pipette to just get some out. And I'll soon know, with a pipette, I've got a measurement. You know, it's got the milliliter bands up the side. And I'll get to the point where if I put 2 litres of water in my, bowl that I use to feed my orchids, and put whatever 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 millilitres of this stuff in, it's predictable what the TDS is going to be. So none of this sprinkle of that, wait for it to dissolve, give it a good stir, check with the TDS meter, find out you've put too much in and have to add some more water, or you haven't put enough in, sprinkle some more in, wait for that to dissolve, all that goes out the window. I'll have a predictable way of adding the feed and a pretty predictable TDS result. So there we go, that's what I'm going to use. As I said, I'm a little dubious about not actually stating the percentage of the magnesium, but I can live with that. It's an element that I haven't got as a separate entity. You're looking at Epsom salts magnesium. I haven't got any as a separate entity. It's something I've never seemed to need. Anyway, we will give this a go. And I'm reasonably happy that it's going to work okay. It's as I said, it's the dosage on the actual packet. No, hang on, we can have a look. If I wheel this across, take that up a bit. There we go. That's what the back of the packet looks like. And if I move over here, we can expand that. So you can see it even mentions orchid types. Yeah, a bit of blurb, advertising blurb. Don't take much notice of that. Instructions for use: mix fertilizer at 5 millilitres or 1 teaspoon. That's a proper teaspoon, not one of these nearly teaspoons. It's a proper one with 2 litres of water. So that's roughly what Carol came back with. She reckoned it took 7 millilitres in 2 litres of water to come back with 216. And it recommends a soft water or rainwater, fair enough. For Cymbidiums, notice it does specify, picks them out. Use 20 for 2 litres. Yeah? So think about that. If 5 ml gives a TDS of Where are we? Come on, brain, more coffee. 5 mil or 7 mil in what's its case, Carol's case, around that figure gave a TDS of around 200. So 20 mil is going to be 4 times as much. So 4 twos are 8. So they're recommending Cymbidium orchids get a TDS of 800. Well, I was going up to 4.5, 5. So we can go even higher. When they're actively growing, don't forget, you don't want to pile this stuff in when they've finished growing, they've matured all their bulbs and all they're doing is pushing up spikes. This is the wrong feed for that point in their life cycle. That's where hopefully the Dynagrow Bloom comes in and does its job, because they won't be using much nitrogen at all. So we'll see how we go. But I reckon a combination of these two, the fact that this one's already got seaweed in it, that doesn't stop me adding a bit more. Or when I do a flush, it doesn't stop me using CalMag with the flush water and a bit of seaweed instead of just pure water. So there are all sorts of combinations that I could use. And if I wanted to give this a kick, I could, in the main growing season, I could always use the calcium nitrate, which boosts both the nitrogen and the calcium. So there we go. That's the plan for the weekend. We will come back with a litre of this stuff, and I think it's going to be good. And hopefully this lot out there will appreciate it, because that's what it's all about. It's trying to get happy orchids. And I still maintain that the bottom line is, I think it's more important how you feed and how often and how strong is more important than what you feed with. Because most of the time any food will do most of the job, but you can fine tune your feeding, which is what I'm looking at doing. Yeah, so a weak solution of garden fertiliser would probably do the job, but you may miss out on the micronutrients and eventually your plant will decline as a consequence. So finding one with a feed with everything in it is just what you need. So we will go from there, and I bet I can't zoom in on that. No, I can't, because it's flown away. The regular visitor, I wonder if I could. Let me just see if I can zoom in through there onto the feeder from here, from sitting down in my chair. Would it work? Or is it going to it's going to home in on the shelf, I bet. Yeah, it's going to home in on the shelf because it's the first thing it comes across. No, I can't get... oh, hang on. Yeah, I forced it by moving it across slightly. So maybe we could. But the two nuthatches are very regular visitors now, as is the robin. And we have a new one since I put the new feeder out, and the new bird table and the new feeders. I've been keeping track of what's on there that I've seen. Don't forget, things may sneak in and out when I'm not looking. But the cold tit actually appeared yesterday. So that's an additional one. It's one that I've had ever since I've had the feeders going when I moved in. But it's more of an occasional visitor, but at least it's around. There was only one. All through last winter there was a pair. We shall see. Anyway, that'll do for today. I was hoping that nuthatch would come back while I'm zoomed in, but I can't sit here waiting for it all day. I've got to do other things to do and all that. And that includes getting ready for tomorrow, so that I haven't got to do everything tomorrow morning. So there we go. That's my decision. We will be using this stuff. I'm quite happy to use it. Having looked into it, I've looked into the price. I can go and pick it up off the table tomorrow, hand over my card and pay for it. Job done, bring it home with me. And I was going to water my Cymbidiums today, and I thought, no, we'll wait, because we'll have our new fertiliser tomorrow and we can try using it for the first time. and we'll be using it at the recommended strength that these people say, 20 ml per 2 litres. 2 litres is about the amount I usually mix up for the Cymbidiums. Obviously I pour water through so it gets reused, but they've been rained on so much. The last feed they had was the 16th of September. You know, that's heading up to nearly 4 weeks ago, and they haven't had any feed since then. So boy, have they been well flushed with all that rainwater. So they will be gagging for something to eat, and they can get a dose of this for their first feed in that amount of time. I've had to wait this long for them to dry out enough to allow me to pour more water in without drowning them. So we'll probably do that tomorrow. I might even do some of that as part of the Sunday chat tomorrow. And I'm saying tomorrow when it's not tomorrow. The Sunday chat is on Sunday. That's why it's called the Sunday chat. Strange that. See you next time. Bye for now.